Like, we were all like, dear God, let this be the card that ends it.
Sometimes Uno can go like that where it just
it's
goes
bad
forever
shuffle.
and ever and ever again. The worst part about Uno is I always feel like I have to be Uno sheriff. I always have to poke everyone around the table. Hey,
it's your turn.
You're talking, you're drinking, that's fine.
Yeah.
But fucking pay attention to when it's your turn.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
It's not that difficult to talk
and be like, oh,
okay,
it's
now
me.
I have to play a green card.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a high thought game, but it makes me feel like an asshole when.
Nah, I get it. I think everybody has that in them too, where it's like it gets to a certain point. It's like, wait, when did somebody go?
Yeah, and then you're like, I wish Louis was here as Uno Marshal.
Yeah.
To,
Marshal.
to
I like that more
things.
than sheriff. Marshal's like militant almost.
I am. Hey,
it's your turn.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Highly Suspicious with Lou Gregg and Presto the Magician.
My aunt used to call me P. Diddy.
Uh-oh.
Canceled.
Canceled.
Formerly known as P. Diddy.
We're once again live from the Trap House. It is Tuesday, Election Day, when you're hearing this, and it's kind of a weird the way the recording schedule works because there's no way we could have recorded this where we would have known because it's probably going to take a while. But if you're listening to this when this comes out...
The world is totally different than it was when we recorded this.
The Dark Lord has been elected president.
Either Dark Lord. The lesser of two Dark Lords.
I wanted to bring this clip to the table from 5 years ago.
Wow.
Because I completely forgot about this. The Matt Bevin lady, do you remember this?
Yes, actually. Vaguely.
So, I'm going to play the clip first and give context.
Hey, we just got word Matt Bevin has won. We're just gonna put
Oh my fucking god.
So that was
Fuck Matt Bevin.
That was the Kentucky governor's race the time before last. Matt Bevin was running for re-election, and this looks like it's at like some campaign event.
Yeah.
And some lady goes up on the stage and claims victory, and
She's on the phone.
She starts going whoa and jumping up and down and shit, and then it turns out she was just like unrelated to anything. She
just went up there and took the mic.
She just wanted the microphone and
5 seconds of fame.
And that was her 5 seconds.
You can do crazy things.
But I completely forgot about that. I mean,
it's honestly that's one of those things that not just the news, but just like this whole time of the year of the election period just flies by so fast. Like it's there's all this anticipation.
Speak for yourself.
No, there's all this anticipation building up for it for like the last year, but then it happens, and then it's just like done. Just you went through the fucking wormhole.
Yeah.
And it's like everything's changed.
Yeah.
And so
none of us are quite the same.
None of us are quite the same afterwards. I felt dirty, just like I felt dirty last time I voted.
Did you cave?
I did not.
Who do you vote for?
I didn't really want to say it, but I voted for Jill Stein. And somebody will give me shit for that to be on the ballot.
But yeah, good for you. The third party threw away your vote.
You know what's really fucked up?
What?
The whole time, we're in this middle school gymnasium, like less than a mile down the street from my house. And they have this like motivational mural of historical women on their gymnasium wall.
Ironic.
And they have Kamala up there.
That's crazy.
And
rigged.
But listen, I'm on Reddit, and so there's a lot of stuff on Reddit when it comes to this time of, year. And there were people talking about, like, if there's somebody, like, outside, with political propaganda up, like, remember that they're not allowed to do that. And, like, you can report them, and, like, that is interfering with an election, technically, is to be out there propagandizing at people as they're going to vote. And there were people at, like, I don't know how far away you have to be for it to not be considered, but there were people for, like, not for the president, but for, like, a local office position, like councilman or something, and they were, like, right at the entrance to the parking lot. And there were big signs all in front of the houses on the way to my polling place.
Yeah, I don't think they just enforced that at all, because when I voted early, there were people sitting out there being like, vote no on Amendment 2. Which based.
But also not sure you're supposed to do that.
When I agree with it, it's fine. When I disagree with it, it's the worst thing ever.
The post that I saw on Reddit was talking about how, like, if you see people with political shirts, like, you can wear a political shirt in to vote, and then you just have to leave. Like any other voter. So it's like, technically you can bring propaganda into a polling place, but it's like, I'm looking at Kamala, and Kamala's looking at me the entire time I'm fucking going up to put in my information to get my ballot, and while I'm voting and putting my ballot in the machine.
The mural's just looking at you like, I hope you make the right decision, Preston. I hope you do the right thing for America.
God. I did the right thing for my conscience, maybe.
At Bowman Field, when we went, there were a bunch of, like, Trump signs and yes on Amendment 2 signs where you get into the parking lot. And that was the same type of thing where I was like, are they allowed to do that?
I know, it feels so weird.
I didn't know what you were talking about, but yeah, it makes sense. What's crazy about all this is we might not even know by the time this episode comes out.
Dude.
Because what they're saying
is going to be the most contentious election ever.
What they're saying is, like, well, what I was hearing today was that the early voters actually slowed some stuff down here, which...
I feel like so many people voted early this year. Like, this is gonna... I think we're gonna have, like, record voter turnout.
But... what's so annoying, we can't even get, like, a proper estimate right now. Like, I'm trying to see how things are going, and everyone's just like, yep, you're going to have to sit tight and wait, because it's 50-50 everywhere.
Yeah.
California could be red, and Texas could be blue. No one fucking knows. Not literally.
I know, but I get it.
I've been trying to keep a pulse on it, and is just not. Let's see. Time just posted this 2024 election updates. No one has any votes. That's great.
I was trying not to consume election content until this point because I knew I was going to get, like, electioned out after the pod.
Russian bomb threats disrupt Georgia polling stations. That sounds like a fair and honest election.
Amazing. Yeah, a lot of people. I think if we have, like, record voter turnout, though, it makes sense that it's going to take us some time to get all of this information sorted.
Maybe.
And it's probably going to be really close in some states. Like, it always is, you know? The only way that I see it not being really contentious is if it is, like, a landslide for one of them, you know? And it's debatable. We had our coin flips. And
it didn't go well.
But logically, you know, I've seen a lot of people saying that, like, they've been Republicans their entire life and they can't vote for Trump.
What was the analogy I used for every coin flip saying Trump?
Oh, I have no idea, dude.
My analogy was college game day.
Yeah.
When everyone picks the same way in a game, they're probably all wrong.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, the most obvious answer isn't necessarily it. And that is exactly what happened this weekend with college game day, where every single one of those fucks picked Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
And you know who didn't pick Clemson? Fucking Louisville Cardinals. We went to Death Valley in Carolina and we stomped them on national television. And now, those game day voters are just like, hey, maybe we don't know as much as we thought we did.
For sure.
And maybe it's going to be the same thing with the coin flip.
But best 2 out of 3.
I hated that every single one of them coin flips
I
said
know.
the same thing.
I know. It's actually crazy.
I think we flipped it multiple times when Jackie was here too,
Yeah.
and it was the exact same
Yeah.
thing.
I don't know that.
I blame your coin.
I think the coin's defective.
The coin is bad.
Bad coin.
Do we have anything to talk about today?
Just
Because
the end of civilization as we know it. Actually, let's get into me voting third party. Because I did say that it was very possible that I would cave in and maintain the status quo and vote how I voted on my last election. I've seen so much online. Like, until I was literally like, I actually can't see any more election day shit today or I will fucking gouge my eyes out. I saw a lot of stuff that was talking about, like, privilege in voting. And I think that is a factor. I think that there is a lot of privilege for people that are comfortably Republican. They don't have to worry about things that people that feel like they just could not vote that way, you know? Like, you could be the richest fat cat, woman and still be like, well, you don't want me to have, like, bodily autonomy, and that's kind of a deal breaker.
Right.
Yeah. Even though it would help my pockets, like, if some of these people were in power.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same for, like, I get it. I am a white man. I have privilege when it comes to my vote, and I don't have to worry about some things. But there are a lot of people that are talking about, like, liberals have said, and I have actually, in not those exact words, been told that I have privilege in my vote to feel like I could vote for a third party comfortably. Uh-huh. And I wouldn't disagree entirely with that statement, but I also think it takes some privilege to feel like you can vote to maintain the status quo when the status quo kills thousands of people around the globe.
Yeah.
It's the lesser evil is still evil. Like, that's a true statement.
Yeah. It's all gray areas, so
politics truly is.
The fact that we're sitting here and saying, this side is definitively good and this side is definitively
that's just
bad.
Not true.
That's why the easiest, way to have a political conversation now is to just be like, oh, both sides suck.
Yeah.
But if you just preface that with whatever you say, it'll be like, okay, I can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Both sides suck, but I'm voting for Trump.
Exactly.
Still disagree with you.
Yeah.
But
at least we have some common ground.
I mean, you could say some things about Kamala that I could not disagree with.
Absolutely.
As a finance person, and as someone who works in an insurance office, I get a lot of people who are very worried about the economy and prices and shit like that. And I think that that's kind of a misconception. I think that to look at Trump's actual policies, which are one of the biggest ones being a 20% tariff on all foreign goods, how would that be good for the economy? It would force us to be more independent as a country, but guess what?
That hasn't happened, yeah.
We can't be independent as a country because we already rely on these other countries to...
Existing markets already are in place that create situations that make that unavoidable.
And that's part of, like, in my book, what I've read, like, part of the American privilege is consumerism and the globalism effect of, like, the other countries, they have to exist making shit.
Yeah.
And we
innately add a deficit to the American market.
Yeah.
Really, though. Like,
So just off of that, just trying to... I mean, that would be disruptive to the entire global economy. And that would negatively affect us at the same time. So that's one thing that I look at. Another thing is, like, people don't talk about how much of a ridiculous policy that the immigration is. We were kind of talking last week about...
You voted.
At some point, we'll stop talking about this, you guys. We'll
have our timeline. We'll have our timeline cleanser. Listen to some good vibes, but today's the day and the week and the year and, like,
But
we're all experiencing
similar to what we were talking about last week, where Trump's hard to talk about because of all the silly shit that we want to talk about and that's
that
funny,
catches your attention and
that
has
distract
always
from the real shit. Yeah. It's the same thing with the immigration shit, where all we talk about is the broken up families. All we talk about is the pathos of it all.
Nobody's stealing anybody's fucking jobs. That's the main rhetoric.
Yeah, what we don't talk about is the jobs that these foreigners fill that we need that are good for the economy.
And that plenty of people think they're too good for.
The jobs that foreigners create, because a lot of these people are self-made and entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
And they aren't just all leeching off of the system.
Culturally, there is something about that hustle, that grind. Like, if you've had to fight for things that you want growing up in
you're gonna be
less
more
privileged society, you are going to be significantly more fucking motivated.
And I'll be the first to tell you, because I grew up having shit, I'm less motivated.
Absolutely.
But the number one
That's
thing
how that works.
that I feel like people just have not talked about at all, it would be expensive as fuck to, without reason, deport all of these
Do you remember when fucking Florida just said, get out of here? Yeah. And it just fucked everything up.
Did it?
They had like so many fucking buildings that were in progress, basically. And when fucking DeSantis was like, yeah, we have like a no illegal immigrant leeway policy now. Mm-hmm. And they all fucking dipped because they take that shit seriously. Mm-hmm. And there were just like construction projects on construction projects that were just in progress and abandoned as a result. Yeah. And I've seen videos even where it's like joking about like white people filling in those positions. Honestly, where it's like they're slower. Like where it's, I think I even saw clips of like construction company owners where they're like, yeah, I had to hire like this 18-year-old fresh out of high school. And
guess what? He
has no fucking motivation.
He needs a 90-minute lunch break, and he needs a 10, 15-minute
break.
It
takes him fucking twice as long to do the work. But that's real shit.
But one of the most crazy things about all of that is just like how disrespected construction workers are. Like they're not considered skill work, even though if you put a fucking hammer in my hands and told me to start working on like the VA building or whatever they're building over there,
they are.
I'm not gonna be able to fucking do anything. I wouldn't even
probably... You'd hurt yourself, most likely.
I would probably hurt myself. I would probably ask too many questions. I would probably overthink everything. Does this go here? Does this go there? I would be told. There's a reason why I don't do that. There's a reason why those people get paid good money to do that shit, and I get paid good money to do other things.
Insurance.
Yeah.
Honestly,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I also just think that like that's America. There's all
disrespecting other people.
Well, I think there's just this illusion of how the world works that we're sort of pitched and sold and is commercialized and white picket fences and all that shit. Mm-hmm. Nicely, pretty little white suburbs and little boxes. Dream. The American dream.
2 kids in a swimming pool.
Exactly. Hey, swim pool ain't too bad though. But honestly though, it is an illusion, just like so many other things in this country, and it doesn't show you like how that all functions and the people that make that function, and it's not the people living in those suburbs that make everything run so that people can be in those suburbs with their running water and sprinklers and shit. Like that's not how the world works. If you ask an American to be like, what does a farmer look like? They're gonna be like some overalls wearing straw hat pitchfork white dude. And it's like, most agriculture in this country is mass-produced, like, corporate farms. Mm-hmm. And there's just a bunch of immigrants out there picking shit.
Yeah.
And maybe their supervisor's a white guy because that's how this country is set up.
Right.
But he don't get the food to your table. He just fills out the paperwork.
Mm-hmm. He evaluates people's metrics.
He says Juan picks like twice as many apples in an hour as Jesus. That's literally what that guy's job is. Yeah. Is to evaluate the most valuable assets for their scheme. I think that's the epitome of it all. Kamala's watching me vote. Is it my musical intermission?
Yes.
I could go for it right about now.
Yeah, it's a good time for it. How do you feel about the Tyler album now that we're a week removed from it?
I've only listened to a few songs off of it since then, really. I haven't gone back through it all.
Just the ones that stuck out to you first time?
Yeah, they've just come up in the rotation.
Rotation.
It is funny, though, because I listened through that, like, I'm getting more old Tyler shit that I've already had in the playlist that's just the algorithm hasn't been favoring, you know?
Right.
I was shocked that I hadn't heard about that Gibbs album when you sent me that.
It's fucking pretty good. Yeah, it was almost like a surprise release. He gave a little rollout, but it was like, damn, okay, we hear it.
Let's see.
Curry the killer, I'm back in the building, I kick in the door and I bust up the ceiling. Y'all niggas don't want it, I'm ready, I'm willing. You get him, I got him, I tell him, let's get it. Lower East Coast on the front of my penny. Charlie just threw me some heat, I'ma send it. If Zell gotta finish him, then you'll be finished. I'm feeling like Drewski, I'm stealing, I'm good. Watch the ground Terminator, but you won't never know that talking to you, play your haters, what the fuck is up? All of my niggas be known to get bumped. You think you know me, cause you know my gun. Gun full of shells and I'm out full of slugs. If niggas get salty, I'm rolling him up. Ain't so the fist, cause I just ain't a thug. I just wanna have a good time in the club. You don't want no problems, watch.
Alright, that's still in the paint. Denzel Curry Laser Dim 700 BK Thurula.
Dang.
That's so he's dropping a
Deluxe.
he's dropping a deluxe, which I was all about. Kingdom of Mischievous South, maybe one of my favorite projects from this year. Just like it felt so cohesive to me, like listening through it. I think I could honestly, just after listening to that again, I'm like, dang, should I go back and listen to the whole album? So the deluxe drops in 9 days. That came out on the 30th. I was glad you hadn't heard that already.
Yeah, I hadn't heard it.
It's not like the best song I've ever heard in my life or anything.
It was pretty fucking
but
good.
That beat is fucking fire. And I love how Denzel raps. Like, he's always, putting in the work. Mm-hmm. Like, I can tell that he is passionate about it every time he opens his mouth.
I think the most important asset to Denzel is his ability to both do kind of that heady shit and the ignorant shit. Mm-hmm. Like, the fact that he can make a song like that, which just objectively goes hard, like, if you strip the names from it, you strip everything, then it's just like, okay, this is heat.
Yeah.
But I think Denzel's at the point where he's kind of getting profiled as a more conscious guy now. He's more in that lane with like
totally. When I go to Spotify and it's like Denzel Curry Radio and it's all a bunch of dudes like that.
Yeah, he's in the mix with like Joey Badass and what's that guy's name?
I don't know.
He's like in the Mick Jenkins category where it's like the headier.
I got like Vince
stuff.
Staples.
Yeah. He's not in. His peers aren't like Lil Uzi Vert and all those guys. Even though he came up at the same time as him, he was in that iconic 2016 XXL Cypher that people still talk about to this day. But he's not grouped with those. He's grouped with the Joey Badasses and the fucking Tyler the Creators and the shit like that. Which I think is valid, but I think that people who like sleep on him just have that preconception of, oh, he makes this type of music. He makes a type of music that is more heady, that isn't necessarily my cup of tea.
Yeah.
And that's just why people have to make their own opinion about shit. Because if you listen to that song and you say that that's some, like, lyrical miracle, some conscious, some, you know, whatever, too wordy, like, I just don't have anything called.
It's really simple, like, honestly. But I totally get it. There are people where they're like, he's talking a little too much over that beat, you know? Where, like, some people...
a lot of words.
Yeah. And it's like, but is he really even, like, getting that deep? Nah. He's talking about, you know, he big with the homies. They count their Skrilla.
So, that Kendrick track that dropped a couple months ago, Watch the Party Die.
Yeah.
It was never officially released, but I felt like it was a really good indicator of kind of where rap was at. Because commercial rap has been at a low. And the whole turn-up party shit has been at a low. Mm-hmm. And the hits coming from rap with this crazy crossover potential, like, it's just not the same way that it was a few years ago. And part of the reason why is a lot of the people who made that type of music are all washed up now. And people like Denzel, who are versatile, who can do multiple things, he has a fan base no matter what.
Yeah.
He doesn't need crossover appeal because he has people bumping his stuff no matter what. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
So people like the Denzels and the JIDs and the people who've done all this work to cultivate their fan base, and the way they do that is not compromising their sound, not, you know, saying, let me make generic party music because everyone else is and it's selling 1 billion records.
Yeah.
They made a lane, Vince Staples.
Yeah.
They made a lane doing what they wanted to do, and because of that, they have a ride or die audience, and Denzel fans are crazy.
Yeah.
Is he like one of your... I know we've played Denzel, 3 times, 4 times on the show at this point?
Yeah.
Is he like your number one guy now?
I'd put him, like, top 5. You know, and that's like a top 5 that, like, maybe the bottom of the 5 switches places with 6 every so often. Yeah. And maybe, you know, people move around within that top 5. Yeah. Like, somebody could drop, like, some heat and go from 4 to, like, 2 very easily.
Yeah.
But I would always say that he's been in my top 5 for a while. Honestly, it's funny because, like, I, like, every so often I'll listen to some shit from Taboo.
Yeah. And
that's, like, before he was really commercially, you know, popularized.
He was...
Like, people heard that shit, but nobody, you know, there weren't a whole bunch of people hopping on the bandwagon.
Here's a good comparison for Denzel. And you're going to look at me like I'm fucking crazy when I say this. He has had a similar career arc to Charlie XCX. And let me explain what the fuck I mean.
I know, because the way you phrase that, you gotta have a whole thought process.
So, Charlie is at this point where she's mega successful. Her music this year has been fucking huge. All this stuff. Denzel isn't really at that point in his career, so I don't even mean, like, commercially like that. But just, like, the points in their career when they've had success have been all over the place. Like Denzel hasn't just linearly got more popular over the years. It's been, like, all over the place. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with Charlie XCX, where she had huge hits in, like, 2012 and 2014. And then she had a period where she was more making music for the super hardcore pop stands
Yeah.
that isn't really for that bigger mainstream audience. And it's kind of the same thing with Denzel. That's why I'm saying, like, that Ultimate song,
Yeah.
that was a meme song and that everyone fucking heard in 2016, that was huge.
Mhm.
I wonder how many streams that song has.
Honestly,
Here, let me look.
I would fully agree with that too, because it's like just because something is like kind of kitschy or whatever, and is it like you said, like a meme song, doesn't mean that it's not doing work for the artist. You know, it can be, you know, not anybody's favorite song ever, but if everybody fucking hears it, it doesn't matter how good it is. Like, yeah, it should be decent. It should be a representation of the artist to a degree. But, like, if millions of people hear it, so be it. Like, that, if that can get you traction, good.
Yeah. And then he put out, after that, he put out Imperial, which is very much like a hip-hop head type of album. That's where he kind of declared, like, okay, I had the meme song, I had the loud, braggadocious trap shit, but that's not me. I got songs like Zenith with Joey Badass.
He's I got shit to talk about.
I got storytelling stuff.
Yeah.
I got, you know, this very, even though
metaphorical stuff.
Yeah. So then you put that out, and that didn't do like crazy well for him commercially, but the critics fucking loved it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people's fandom for Denzel goes back to that. And then, after that, doing Taboo, which overall definitely wasn't like this super commercially successable album.
Yeah.
But Clout Cobain was a pretty
huge
big song.
Huge song.
Which still kind of blows my mind, because that's a fucking weird song.
It is a weird song. But it was also fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
For a period of time, you know?
Yeah, so
it's the same as how you could, like, today you could hear a song on TikTok and be like, I kind of like that beat. Like, I'm hearing it everywhere, and I don't, you know, fucking love that part of it. But, like, I kind of like that tune. And then you look it up, and it's like, damn, this whole song's, like, actually really good. Yeah. It's kind of a shame that people only know it for the TikTok 10-second clip.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah, back in the day, it would just be, like, for the meme. Yeah. And it would just be, like, a clip on fucking YouTube or some shit. And that's how everybody first experienced it. And then you, like, actually are like, damn, that was kind of good. And you go and find it.
Ultimate has 223 million streams. Clout Cobain has 217 million streams.
I'm not surprised by those numbers, honestly. That is crazy.
Those are huge songs.
Those are huge fucking songs. Like, yeah.
And, it's very strange how, their career paths are very similar in the sense that...
I get what you're saying.
But you would think that after all that people would have more respect and hype for next Denzel Curry.
I think it's really an example of, like, how the internet has changed that industry so much, you know?
But,
where it's just, like, that kind of exposure seems weird, but it does matter.
That's what I'm saying, like... Totally. The party's dead.
Yeah.
Like, the whole, like, let's all kiki and collab together and make summer hits for the summer, all that stuff. That shit is dead.
Yeah. But that's, like, my favorite thing on that King of Mischievous South album is that there's so many features.
Yeah.
And shit. And, like, you have, like, a narrator.
Yeah.
And that's just fucking awesome to me. Like, that is kind of... And we've talked about, like, you know, and now we got Chromacopia, and Tyler's like, I want to shake up the industry. I want to blow it the fuck up and make something new.
Yeah.
And it's like, there are people like that. It gives me hope. Yeah. You know, as, like, grueling as going and voting can be. If I listen to the right song on the way home, maybe I feel a little bit better at the end of the day.
My take this morning or afternoon was, things are just going so well in other areas where I'm like, okay, there's this balance of the universe.
Yeah, for sure.
It's setting some shit up to be fucked up.
If some shit's got to be fucked up, but I get good music.
Yeah. to get all of the good music we got last week, and to have Louisville win at Clemson for the first time ever, and to have those fans throwing trash onto the field because they were just so mad.
Yeah.
And to have basketball season starting up for college after winning 4 games last year.
Yeah.
And looking very good. And having my Cavaliers and Donovan Mitchell, they're fucking undefeated right now. They've won 9 straight games.
You been doing any betting?
A little bit.
Hey, I knew it.
Just for fun, a little bit. But with all of that shit, apart from my job, like everything is just like nobody move.
Yeah.
Everything is perfect right now. Everyone just keep exactly where you're at. Yeah. Otherwise, everything is just going to shatter apart. That's where I feel like
we did get so much music.
So I feel like shit's just primed to be fucked up.
Yeah. Like waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
But yeah, last week a lot of new music dropped. Lil Uzi Vert dropped a new album.
Yeah.
I really like Lil Uzi Vert, but he needs to hang it up. He needs to.
Damn.
He needs to retire because a lot of his stands are defending being like, this is as good as this. This is as good as that, and it's just like,
no, it ain't.
You gotta have some self-respect for yourself at a certain point. Like, just like I never gotten that. Like, I feel like you could say that I'm a stan of certain things. Like, you'd say that I'm like a Kendrick stan, but
nah, the way you've been talking about that Gambino album, I'd be calling you a Gambino stan.
But if Kendrick came out tomorrow and dropped a whack ass
album, like,
do you think I would be
steaming pile of shit?
I might shoot it a little bail.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit here and try to convince people that, like, everyone's just insane.
That it's gold.
Yeah, and it's just It's just as good as Good Kid, Mad
City. You're not gonna gaslight anybody over it. That's the real sign of a stan is when they start fucking gaslighting you. They're like, you don't even know music.
Yeah, exactly. Did you even listen to it? Yeah, I did.
The 10 seconds that I could bear.
The Freddie Gibbs was really good. And
I need to listen more through it.
And what's interesting about him is usually he needs like that single producer for like the whole album so he can kind of just like focus on the rapping, and he can kind of have like Madlib or The Alchemist or whoever saying, hey, let's do this.
Yeah, I'm gonna conduct a little bit.
Let's sequence it this way, you know. And that kind of makes it a little more special.
That's what those production guys are good at, you know. And they got this vision.
And he didn't do that with this new project, but the beat selection is awesome. The flow of it's really good. And just like musically, like you can just kind of like put it on and enjoy it. And that sounds fucking stupid to say.
No, but like it's not every album that is like that. Like some albums you gotta put it on and like have intention.
Yeah.
And listen through it.
Or like be in a certain mood for it or whatever. You can just throw that shit on. What else? West Side Gun dropped. Damn,
I didn't even know that.
That wasn't super good.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But really, that whole Friday was just like, okay, all this other stuff dropped. That's great. I'm going to keep listening to Tyler. Ab Soul's dropping an album this week.
Yeah, I saw that.
And when all this shit's getting announced at the same time, it's like, why is this happening? Why
maybe
are all my favorite artists dropping at the same time?
So you know how there's like how Drake will like, you know, be like, I'm dropping this date or whatever, and everybody will like move their shit around. So maybe like we're supposed to be getting that Kendrick album, and we were like, are we getting that before the end of the year?
Yeah, there's whisperings of it.
What if we were right? What if we are getting it maybe December, something like that, and everybody's just like, fire, get it out now before he drops. Now, do it.
So
pull the trigger.
The reason why I would push back on it is just because I think that Kendrick's a very secretive guy. I think he's playing his cards close to his chest right now. So I don't think that...
Or maybe they're thinking like us and they're like, he could drop it whenever the fuck he wants.
I think it's a culmination of all of the fingers hovering over the red buttons that are out there. Because Playboy Cardi's been teasing shit forever. That's
I get what you're saying, so it's more than just...
ASAP Rocky's been supposed to drop all fall and still hasn't.
Yeah.
Who else? The Weeknd's been teasing this new album that's about to come out at some point. You see kind of where I'm getting at now? All these people were sitting around waiting, like, I don't want to drop and have this whole rollout and Playboy Cardi surprise drops, and that's what everyone's talking about instead of my shit.
No matter how good it is, too, because it's just about, like, the name.
I think people have gotten to the point, though, where they're like, let's just drop, because if fucking everybody is teasing the shit and not actually doing it, then fuck it. Get in where I fit in, because then it'll be January.
Really, worst case scenario is they drop like the day after.
Yeah, right.
And then you had one day for your shit to be big.
I mean, yeah. Imagine if you're like fucking West Side Gun and you have a whole rollout and it's like, okay, 3 other people that are huge want to drop the same day as me, and Tyler wants to drop earlier in the week.
Yeah.
And you already set that date. And, yeah, it'd be hard. Let's think of a topic for this last part.
Let's go to Reddit. Is there anything besides election talk?
Oh.
What
we were talking about earlier today was, did you hear the whole Jason Kelce stuff? So, Jason Kelce, brother of Travis Kelce, he was Hall of Fame offensive lineman, all this stuff, and he was walking out of like I don't know where he's walking out of, but there were fans around him, and this one guy yelled at him and said that your brother is a F word for dating Taylor Swift. And Jason Kelce turns to him and takes his phone out of his hands and fucking throws it on the ground, shatters it into a million pieces. And he had to come out with this, like, response to it, kind of apologizing, but kind of showing that, like, the higher ups at like ESPN or whatever are making me do this right now. Like, I'm standing.
I'm being held at financial gunpoint. Wink, wink.
But it's just like, you should be allowed to do stuff like that. You should be allowed to like.
There should be natural consequences to things. And it shouldn't be about the fucking law. It should be, you're being an asshole, and I'm going to treat you like you're being an asshole.
Yeah. And,
totally.
And he could have done way worse. I mean, Jason Kelce is fucking.
It's a fucking
huge.
big dude.
Yeah. So he could have fucked
that guy up. But he's lucky he only fucked his phone up.
He just fucked his phone up. And just like.
Also, it's like, even then, it's like, buy him a new phone, and I think it should be all right with the world. Like, there shouldn't be any need for it to be like this whole,
thing.
Is that like assault or some shit?
Right.
Like, what do you charge somebody with for breaking, destruction of personal property? Probably some bullshit like that.
Slap on the wrist.
And it's like, instead of paying a fine that goes to like the government, can I buy that guy a new phone and can we just call it square?
Yeah.
And,
I don't know.
And leave it there?
I'd imagine, I don't know.
Like, if you got a little fender bender and, like, you don't want to deal with insurance and somebody's like, hey, I can, like, pay for you to go to the body, like, send me the bill from the body shop and I'll cover it and we don't have to get insurance involved. It's like, if I smack a dude in the face for, like, being an ass and then I give him an ice pack, Is that karmically balanced? Should we be good? Should the universe be square with that? Should society accept that, like, wrongs have been righted?
Maybe. I do think that it's a weird thing where, like, we expect celebrities to just not be human.
Oh,
and
yeah.
always take the
There's
high
so
road.
much of that.
But it's just like, I don't have any brothers, but if you call my brother a F word on camera, and guess what? There's going to be some consequences. I'm not a violent person, but...
However...
But something's going to happen. Either...
I can get verbally abusive if the time calls.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, I think that all just stems from this, like, pedestal that famous people are put on, and it's unrealistic, and I try not to do that anyway. And, you know, I'm not immune to... Because it is propaganda, like, fame and being on TV is propaganda for, you know, your brand or whatever as a celebrity. But it's like, I'm also not going to act like they're not just a human being. I've always joked, I'm like, you know, if the president fucking came in while I'm working at my job, like, I'm not going to treat them any different than, like, a person. Yeah. You know?
Right.
I'm not going to get on my knees. We ain't in the Victorian era.
Yeah, where we're just the lowly serfs.
Yeah.
And we have to... Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it goes both ways. You should treat him as a human, as in you should treat him with a little respect. And
in the basic human respect.
And you should also treat him like human in that way.
In the humble way. Totally.
Alright, well that's all the time that we have for this episode. Would you throw someone's phone out of their hands and shatter it into 1,000 pieces if you were Jason Kelsey?
And if you bought them a new phone, should it be legally allowed?
I don't know if I'd buy him a new phone. I'd buy him a fucking Motorola.
Well, that's what I mean, like a phone.
I'm not giving you an upgrade.
That necessitates a phone.
Yeah, I'll be like, I don't know. Fuckers.
At Highly Suspicious everywhere. New episode every Thursday.
All hail the Dark Lord.
Yeah, whichever one we picked.
Highly Suspicious everywhere. Did we miss anything? No. Leave us a 5-star review if you haven't.
Leave us a 1-star review. Leave us a review.
Yeah, give us some feedback. Tell us we're fucking
Follow,
stupid. Tell us
share.
you love the show. Give us topic ideas. If you don't want to hear us ramble for 60 minutes again, tell us what you want us to talk about. It's your show just as much as it's our show.
I have no actual interest. I live to serve.
Toodles.